are getting out my firstborn child to cook one of my favorite recipes in this book, the enchiladas con carne. These are so delicious for a busy weeknight, but they're also great when entertaining, and I'm gonna show you how to make them. Okay, so I feel like typically when people make enchiladas at home, they always use store-bought enchilada sauce. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But today I'm gonna show you how easy it is to make your own enchilada sauce, and you're just gonna get that extra layer of flavor that these are gonna taste restaurant worthy. So when making my enchilada sauce, it might seem like a daunting thing because there's a lot of ingredients, but really it's just a bunch of dried spices that you likely already have in your pantry. We're gonna start off by melting some ghee. You could do butter right here, but I'm using ghee to keep these paleo, but either way works. And you could also go with a vegan butter if you wanna keep these dairy-free. Okay, we've got it over like medium heat, and we're gonna add some arrowroot starch, or arrowroot flour. You could also use tapioca here to the mix, and this is gonna kind of thicken up our sauce. You're just gonna whisk these two together until there's no longer any lumps. It's nice and smooth, kind of toasting up that arrowroot flour a little bit. So buckle up, we're about to go through a lot of spices. You're gonna have like a whole study on spices with this recipe, but let's get started. So we're gonna start off with the main spice, which is chili powder. We've got a tablespoon plus a teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, paprika, all right, onion powder, oregano, dried oregano, that is, and a little bit of cayenne if you want a little bit of heat. I recommend doing this. It isn't spicy. My kids love this recipe. Just like a little 1/8 of a teaspoon, for me 1/4. And that's it. Wait, no it's not. I lied. A baby cumin needs to be in the show. 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. So, did you get that? I'm gonna line them up for you so we can discuss. We've got cumin, oregano, chili powder, cayenne, paprika, garlic powder, and onion powder. Gang's all here, Flavor Town. Gotta use up all the spices. So we're gonna toast up these spices until they're nice and fragrant, which happens quickly. Just like 1 to 2 minutes to really bring out the flavor in the spices. But be careful not to burn them. And I keep stirring at them. I'm also gonna sprinkle in a little bit of salt. Once you've kind of toasted up those spices, we're gonna add in a little bit of, not a little bit, 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And we're gonna whisk that and kind of toast the tomato paste as well. It's gonna be nice and thick and glumpy, but just trust the system. Trust Alex Snodgrass. It's time to loosen it up. We've got some beef broth. I have beef bone broth because it's the perfect amount that I need, 2 cups. We're just gonna kind of slowly, while whisking, add our beef broth. And that's it. You've made homemade enchilada sauce. That is really good. I'm a Texas girl, and one of the staples of Tex-Mex cuisine is enchiladas with red sauce like this. And when I make this for people, they're like, oh my gosh, this is better than like my favorite restaurant's enchilada sauce, or enchiladas. So I'll let you find out for yourself. All right, so we're gonna kind of bring this to a simmer. It's gonna continue to thicken up a little bit. I'm gonna actually scoochie this little sauce over here to this burner, because now we're gonna make our ground meat. Now, because you have this sauce, you could do shredded rotisserie chicken in these enchiladas. You could do just cheese, if you're feeling cheesy. You could do whatever you want inside these enchiladas, but I love, love, love the ground beef with the red sauce. It's just my personal favorite way to eat these. All right, we've got ground beef, skillet on medium-high heat, a little bit of oil. We've got some onion going in. About 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I've got 2 pounds here, so I don't need to use it all. Just gonna break up that meat, mix it in with the onions, and brown this all up. If you wanna take a peek over here at my sauce, you can tell it's kind of simmering, and it's really thickened up nicely. It's gonna feel a little bit on the thicker side, but as it cooks in the oven, this sauce is gonna thin out a little bit and kind of lose its thickness a tad, so I like it a little bit on the thicker side when it goes into there. Tastes good to me. Ooh, yum. All right, so my beef's almost done. And just depending on the type of ground beef that you use, you might have a little bit too much excess fat that you're gonna wanna drain off. So you don't want the inside of your enchiladas to get too oily. Okay, and so with ground beef, I like to add my salt to that at the end because I'm gonna drain it off like I just did. So you don't wanna drain off a lot of that flavor. So add in, we have 1.5 pounds of meat. So I'm gonna do a teaspoon of salt and a can of these chopped green chilies. Okay, that's it, folks. That's all I needed to add to that. So after my meat's done and my sauce is done, I'm just gonna add a little bit of the sauce to the meat mixture. That's why we kept it so simple. Just like 1/2 cup in there. And then we're gonna put more of the sauce. I've got this like shallow bowl. You wanna make sure it's approximately around the size that you can dip a tortilla into it. We'll see how that goes. We're gonna pour some of the enchilada sauce into this bowl, and this is when things get a little messy. So we've got some grain-free almond flour tortillas here. You could use cassava or the almond flour here, or you could use regular flour tortillas. And we're just gonna dunk them into the sauce. And I mentioned earlier where we got the paleo going on. And so using those grain-free tortillas is gonna keep this dish paleo. And add about 2 tablespoons of the meat mixture right into there. And then we're gonna give it a roll. Again, this is the messy job, but well worth the effort. Put it seam side down, and then we're just gonna fill these bad boys up. So having the sauce like this not only kind of dredges the tortillas a little bit so that they don't get dry, but it also softens up these almond flour tortillas a little bit and heats them so they're a little bit more pliable. So depending on what kind of tortilla you need, they might not need this part, and you can just pour over the sauce, but I do find it helps. This is a recipe you should not be wearing white when you make it. I started to put on a white shirt and thought, death to white shirt. Here's the other thing. I made this recipe so that there's extra beef, which I usually like kind of sprinkle over the top so you can tell that they're beef enchiladas, you can see what you're about to eat. But the other trick is if you have more tortillas, you can go ahead and roll them up. You've got enough sauce, you have enough space here. So you can really get up to like 12 tortillas and enchiladas here, and you'll probably still have a little extra to sprinkle over the top. But with that said, I've got the rest of my sauce. I'm gonna pour it right over my enchiladas. If you wanna keep these paleo, you just sprinkle the beef on top, put them in the oven like I'm about to tell you to do. But I mean, I really like cheese on my enchiladas, so this is up to you if you can tolerate dairy or not. All right, now we got a little cheese to melt on the top. Here's the special thing about these enchiladas. At this point in time, you could cover it with foil and you could write a little note to someone in need of a home-cooked meal and deliver this to their home, and then they can pop it in and they're gonna be so grateful for you, and you're gonna just give them the best meal. Otherwise, you're just gonna pop it in the oven and bake it uncovered for about 15 minutes until the cheese is nice and bubbly and browned, and these are ready to rock. All right. Delish. For garnish, if you like, just to spruce her up a little bit. I love these enchiladas with a side of rice and a really big green salad with like a lot of avocado in it. It's one of my favorite things to serve it with, but you could do rice, beans, some roasted veggies, whatever your heart desires. But no matter what, these are gonna be a hit in your house. The moment that I've been waiting for, I don't know about you guys, enchilada taste test is the best taste test. They are fabulous. Y'all have to make these next time you entertain. Your guests will think that you are a freaking rock star. Like I mentioned before, this recipe and many other delicious ones are in my book, The Defined Dish. And there's also a ton of great Mexican-inspired, Tex-Mex-inspired recipes on my blog, thedefineddish.com, which I will link below.